Hello, everyone. My name is PrimeTime Moff, and welcome to our podcast-only monthly show, Talking Toons, where each month I'm joined by a special new guest. And across two episodes, we discuss toons and toys from our childhood. In the first episode of the month, we discuss multiple shows and toys, and then we follow up with an episode where the guest gets to pick a specific show they want to talk about in more detail. So now I'd like to introduce you to our special guest for this month. And I want to give you a wee bit of background of why they're so special and why it was appropriate for them to be on for November. So the guest today is the wonderful Kilo Kay, or as I know him, Kev. Kev has been my friend for 21 years. We both met in our first day in my previous company, HSBC, and we just clicked straight away. So we always knew our anniversary, and more so than celebrating with my wife, I always make a point of celebrating with Kev. And last year was our 20-year anniversary, and we had an epic, epic, epic toy trip in November. And I thought, actually, for the anniversary of that trip, it'd be good to get Kev to come on. We'll chat about toys, cartoons, probably reminisce a little bit about our toy trip, and then we'll hear from him as he talks about a very specific cartoon in the second episode. So hopefully that was a good enough introduction, Kev. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Moff. Appreciate the honour of being able to appear on your podcast, and let me wish you a slightly belated happy 21st anniversary, my friend. Because I think we're a few days removed from the actual day. But yeah, that toy trip last year, that was something else. That was I wish we didn't have to wait until say 25 years to do it again, or even 30 years. Can we just do it annually? Can we just do it again just to now?
Listen, I'm up for that. As I said that to you just recently, like that. Pick a date, pick a toy trip. Yeah, I'm totally up for it because I just love a toy trip.
I'm going to try and find one from the fantastic BP fairs for probably some point next year. I know that you're a very busy man these days, but I think we've briefly chatted already that the thing that you've got on in the month I was considering is not the same weekend as what you've already booked yourself for. So maybe we will get to do it again in the near future, which would be amazing.
And the sad bit is that the trips, the kind of big toy fairs are all down south. You know, I think the closest one for us, there's one in February that's like just south of Manchester. So it's kind of doable. It's kind of doable in a day if you got up early. I mean, back to our, you've got 20 years of doing all these kind of crazy trips.
Oh, I'd like leaving at 3 in the morning in an Alhambra, just the biggest car we could find to fill it full of stuff.
To go to NEC and then driving back up the same day. I certainly like at my
now it's
my very young age
for the
not
night.
A chance.
Now it's booking a hotel for the evening.
I know.
We're old men now, man. We're so old. We can't be doing the one shots.
No, absolutely not. And actually, like the big thing I think we both took away from our trip last year was that my favourite night anyway was the night we stayed in Reading, which irony is I'm going to Reading this month. I'm not staying in the same hotel, mind you, but
was that the Snooty Hotel?
Yeah, the Crown Plaza with their vinegar dip.
Oh my God, yeah. A little bit of story for the listeners that we were having dinner in this snooty ass hotel, and Moff asks for some vinegar I think it was just for chips or something, wasn't it?
It was just for chips.
And you're expecting either they'll bring over a little bottle of vinegar for the table, or like a wee handful of the sachets that you get. The guy was away for ages, and I was like, I think bro's forgot about your vinegar, mate. And eventually he comes back after a good 10 minutes or so with like a little dish you would get ice cream served to you in, full of vinegar. And he's looking at it as if, I'm supposed to do with this. And then fast forward about 45 minutes later when we were leaving the restaurant to go back to our room, and we clocked that they had a little thing of sachets sitting at the wee kind of post podium as you go out the door. Loads of these little sachets of vinegar, and I thought that guy has literally stood there and emptied about 50 of them in that bowl for you. Like, what a clown! What's going through his mind?
It was one of the most surreal moments I've ever experienced because it's like they served fish and chips. It was a fancy restaurant. It was a proper restaurant, really nice, kind of upmarket, and a really nice hotel. So I wasn't kind of shocked they didn't have vinegar sachets, right? That's okay for that kind of place. But they serve fish and chips. If you serve fish and chips, you should have salt and vinegar. But that was in their bar bit, which is a kind of more just a burger and chips kind of place. But anyway, it was kind of funny. But
funny.
So I think that was the night where it was when we were doing that trip, the fun of crashing in a hotel and going, right, what toys did we open? Or what toys did we get? Not you open. course not. Great. Kev's a mint
Uh,
on card, mint
uh,
on
I'm mint
box.
on card, mint on box, boy. I
He
know.
collects boxes. I collect
See,
toys.
now, see, you say this to me a lot, right? And it's one of the reasons I fell away from the collecting game for a handful of years, and I'm
Because you
glad
didn't
to be.
enjoy collecting toys.
No. I'm glad to be back in the game now. But you did take the piss a little bit with those comments. But because now what I'm thinking is, if I did just collect boxes and wasn't asked about the toy, I would wait till you opened yours, and then I would just
Take the
do a
box.
free collection because all your stuff would be going in the bin anyway. But yeah, I remember the time that you when I just kind of just got back into collecting a little bit, and you had a massive mail day from, I want to say it was probably Big Bad or somewhere like that. That you got a big absolute haul of stuff in, and proceeded to send me very detailed,
Oh,
very graphic photographs of all the boxes being absolutely mangled and
well,
destroyed,
that
just to
wasn't a
give me some sort of heart attack.
yeah. Well, that wasn't a post day. That was me before moving house and realizing that I had just so much, and I was like, "Why am I taking all these? I'm never going to display these as card either." And I just thought, you know, stuff it. I'm going to bring the volume of stuff I need to move down massively. So I took like four big massive boxes full of boxed and carded figures and just get rid of all the cardboard and all the boxes. And it was so liberating, so much fun, but it was just so much easier than to cart one box. That's probably still never been opened and displayed,
And,
even though
and
I've
at
got
no point,
fucking.
and at no point prior to you doing those horrendous actions, did you think, I know a mint on card guy that might like this? No,
It was,
no, I'm gonna
would have
I'm
had it.
gonna wreck it and then send him a picture of it destroyed.
It was kind of fun. Most of the stuff was stuff you would collect,
Do you
like
know?
so.
Do you know what? Yeah, fair. Yeah, that's fair.
You
Like
know,
I say,
the vast
there's.
majority of my collection is not what's in your wheelhouse. The vast majority of it is
I
not
mean,
in
do
your
we,
wheelhouse.
I, okay, I'll accept that when we're talking about things like Transformers and so on. But a lot of things that we do cross over in, things like Ghostbusters, wrestling figures, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, things like that. There are things that we've got common interests in, comic book characters and Deadpool, stuff like that. I know you've got a big
Yeah.
Deadpool collection yourself.
You started that. You started a Masters Universe collection now, so you're just
I
getting
don't
going.
know. I don't know if I would say it's starting a collection, and I blame this on Funko Fusion because yes, I did watch the cartoon, but as a child, I only ever had the one single He-Man figure that I got as like a surprise Christmas when I was about 6 or 7 years old, maybe, and I never asked for it. It was a thing I got for Christmas that was in a wee extra, a wee surprise. So anytime in future when I would ask, like
Yeah,
I'd like this for Christmas and the surprise. In my head, it was another He-Man figure. Not having the
yeah.
daft brain of a child to just go, could you just get me more
Keep be
He-Man
anything.
figures, please?
Yeah.
So I only ever had that one figure who later on became part of my fig fed for wrestling figures. Hulk Hogan versus He-Man for the world title, and I never ever had it. But then I was talking to you about that new video game Funko Fusion. That's it's like the old Lego games, but it's Funko Pops instead of Lego minifigures. And there's a whole Masters of the Universe based world in it, and it's got all the sound samples from the 80s and things like that, where by the power of Grayskull, I have the power. And you can tell it's not re-recorded because it's like grainy audio. It's
Yeah.
clearly the original sound clip, and then it just plays the epic He-Man theme, which I didn't notice until replaying that and like hearing the song again. 40 years later or so, that it's basically the same as the Remington Steel theme.
I
So
do you know that is so.
yeah, go. That's
I'll check
Pierce
that. Okay,
Pierce Brosnan show. But yeah, look up the. I mean, I'm assuming you know the He-Man theme off the top of your
yeah.
head. Go and listen to the Remington Steel theme, and listeners out there, you can do the same thing, and then tell me I'm wrong that they don't sound almost identical because they do. But yeah, that was what rekindled my love for that, and I was like, oh, Masters of the Universe was amazing, and I'm going to have to go and get some toys. So
Yeah.
I picked up a handful of the retro style ones that came out because I wasn't even going to go near trying to get mint on
No,
card
no,
old
no.
ones.
I'm the same. I don't have any originals. I've got reproductions of He-Man. I'm just letting that just now. He-Man, Skeletor, Trapjaw, and Orko. When Super Seven did kind of reissues of the original figures, and then I've got some of the kind of more the different ones. I've got like the ones that, I know you've got the kind of new He-Man from the retro, and I think that's the bit that got you back into toys. Was the aspect of the I was going to say Mattel retros, but it's not. it was the Mattel retros probably that really kicked it all back off, and it's the bringing out a toy that looks kind of like the original toy and is kind of reminiscent, and that's the era we're in now.
Yeah, but then what happened was, like you're saying there about the Mattel retros, and yeah, I remember getting, I think Series 1 of the Mattel retros was Undertaker, Ultimate Warrior, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, and Kevin Owens, I believe. Or did I say him twice? I think I might have said one of them twice. There was 6 in the range, and Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns were the ones that were impossible to get. I had
Well, I haven't said that. I never ever saw John Cena.
I ordered 3 of them when the line was first announced. I got Cena, Warrior, and Taker, and that was the only 3 that I got because they were the only 3 that were available to. I want to say it was probably Smiths, but I don't remember where I got them from.
Yeah, I think it was Smith.
But
I remember Smiths having them, and
then
I picked them up for presents for people, but I never got them myself.
Yeah, so I only had those 3, and I found out years later when I went and set myself the goal of getting the full set mint on card that when they first came out, there was Owens, Reigns, I think Cena, and Lesnar. And then when they were going to bring out, I forget what the order is, but Reigns and Owens were definitely in the first batch, but it was a batch of 4, not 6. So when the second 2 or the last 2 of the 6 were released, they swapped out Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns for these new ones, which is what led to them becoming rarer because all the new cases that were going out to retailers were missing those 2 guys, so they became quite sought after very quickly. And then obviously with Roman Reigns, there was also a copyright issue because his finish is known as the Superman punch, and it said that on the card. And then DC found out and spanked up Mattel and went, "You can't put that shit out." And they had to change it to Super Punch. So there's 3 variants of it. There's the original one that says Superman Punch, which goes for crazy money. There's one that is the Superman Punch card, but it has like a little half circle sticker over it that says Super Punch. And then there's reprinted cards that actually are printed as Super Punch. And I think it's the sticker one I've got in my mint on card collection. It might be it definitely says Super Punch, but it's in a Defender high up on a wall, and I'm not going to try and bring it down to check. It definitely doesn't say Superman Punch officially though, but it may be under a sticker. And I then hunted down the rest of them after I missed out on them for so long, and I remember seeing a handful of them in like places like Home Bargains for like $3.99.
You even bought them for my birthday one year.
Like
when I said I was getting them for the cheap, and I was like, I want these for my birthday, please, gentlemen.
And I still never bought them for myself. And then I thought, you know what, it's probably the closest thing I'm going to get to having a full Hasbro WWF mint on card set. I will try and hunt down these Mattel retros. By which point they had went on hiatus and they had essentially cancelled the line, and then obviously they brought them back through the adult collector oriented Mattel Creations that they're not available at standard retail anymore. But I did successfully manage to achieve my goal, and I now have the entire set of them mint on card, and I'm still amazed I was able to finally actually do that. And I think Ric Flair was the one I paid the most money for.
I think it was, I think you remember telling me that.
But yeah, it was a hell of an achievement. I'm glad that they're still doing them through Mattel Creations, so we're still getting new ones. Although I wish they would focus more on the kind of older ones. I know that they do ringside exclusive sets where, like, there was a DX set, which to be fair, that fits in with the era, and so was the NWO set that they did. But then they're bringing out like a Bloodline one soon, and I'm like, do we really need retros of them? They're like all current guys. Like,
however, my favourite retros, because I had a decent collection until you started, and then you just blew mine out of the water. My favourite.
There's only a handful you're missing. I don't think you're missing as many as you think you are.
But I've not done any of the more recent waves. Like, I've not got the ones and stuff. So I've totally fell away. I don't buy wrestling figures at all anymore. But my favourite retros are the New Day. I think the New Day ones are great. So the New Day and Finn Balor, they're my 4 favourite retros. I do like some of the old ones. I like the Roddy Piper. I think it's great because you can take a
Yeah.
kilt off. Not that you would know that, but you can take a kilt off.
No, I know you. I know you
Uh,
could, but I won't because mine is mint on card. I've
so
also got the original Hasbro Roddy Piper mint on card now, and the kilt is molded into him. You can't even look up his skirt. It's like
well,
solid to the
I
bottom.
know
But
that.
yeah,
I've got a special
I
gold version of that,
I
so I know that you can't look up his kilt.
I did then, like I said, the natural progression from that
Yeah,
was I'm going to have to go and try and find these bloody Hasbro's. And I used to have a somewhat respectable collection of mint on card Hasbro WF guys, and I, I believe I sold them all off because I've got no idea if I still have any of them. I have no idea where they are. Um, so I just started from scratch again and started getting them. And obviously, when we did our toy trip, I managed to find a few belters, including an autographed purple card Tatanka, which
that was nice.
I got for a very, very reasonable price because I was buying more than one figure from the dealer. And yeah, I didn't even realize until after I bought it when I was packing it up to put it in. When me and Moff go to toy fairs, we tend to take like a little rolly suitcase, like a hard shell one, to protect all the valuable toys that we're parting our money with. And when I was packaging that up in the suitcase, I realized because the Hasbro cards all have like a printed autograph on the like portrait,
Yeah.
and then I realized I was like, no, that's separate. That's Sharpie. This is actually signed. And I was like, that's cool. Didn't even know that. And I was like, I wonder if the seller knew that, and that's why I got such a deal on it. But then there was a tag, like a tag attached to it that actually said it was signed, and I just never noticed it. So yeah, the guy totally knew it was signed. They still gave me it for a belt of a price. But yeah,
Good.
I think I've just recently surpassed, I think, 15 or 16% of the Hasbro collection. So I'm making a big dent in it. Still got a ways to go though.
I know, but it's always fun because like there is a joy in completing a collection or a part of a collection.
Yeah,
But there's
for sure.
also
Like if I was
the hunt's great.
yeah, if I was able to finish like an entire series or something like that, I'd be like, right, that's
Yeah.
I'm crowning that as an achievement. I've got all of series 5 or whatever. But yeah, to go back to your earlier point about the fact that there's so many retro style lines out now, not specifically just with wrestling figures, because you've got loads of companies making those. You've got Hasseltoy with the Grapplers and Gimmicks line, you've got Zombie Sailors, Heels and Faces, you've got the Wrestling Megastars from Cello Toys, now Epic Toys. There's loads of companies doing the retro wrestling figures aside from just Mattel. But there's also like Playmates are reissuing the Ninja Turtles, and Hasbro reissued the old Kenner Ghostbusters figures and things like that. And you mentioned the Masters of the Universe retros as well. There's so many nostalgic things out there that I'm just like, shut up and take my money.
This is the best era to collect toys, but the worst era for your wallet.
Oh, for sure, for
It
sure.
is there is just so much good stuff out there, as you say. You've went through some of them there. The ones that I know you're not interested in, but they've kind of done is like even kind of modern versions of them on retro cards. So like they've done G.I. Joe have just started doing kind of retro card back ones. So it's a 6-inch figure, but looks like the original figure. Hasbro did that with their Black Series to match the original figures. So there's a couple of them I've picked up. That's like it just they know exactly the market. Like we are going to hit
Yeah.
that. Transformers, I know it's again that's not your market, but Transformers have kind of started to do that. They've got some new ones coming out in the kind of same carded style of an original G1 figure, but it's a modern figure, and it's just like they these
But
companies
that's
know how the nostalgia
nostalgia,
brand,
yeah.
and it's great. Like as
Yeah.
a collector, it's never been a more fun time, and 40th anniversaries are coming around for so many of the toys that
Yeah.
actually it's just Transformers has got it, He-Man's had it, G.I. Joe's there, the Turtles. I know we've got a
It was
picture of
Ghostbusters was
US for you.
40th this year.
Yeah,
Ghostbusters was 84 for the original movie. I think the cartoon figures, I know that the original ones I have, not the reissues, the original ones I think are dated 1986.
that's what I think they are as
So
well. Yeah,
that's when
so
that's you've got a couple of years, and then that's the real Ghostbusters will get a 40th anniversary as opposed to just
yeah.
Ghostbusters in general from the first movie. But yeah, there's already like reissues and retro stuff for Ghostbusters, so I can't wait to see what's going to hit for the real Ghostbusters if they do something special for it in a couple of years' time.
And it will be interesting because we know that just this week, or it's just this week when we're recording it, or just this last 2 weeks maybe. The pre-orders have went up for the new Mondo figures based on the real Ghostbusters, which
Yeah,
is
I've
a kind
seen
of
those.
modern take on it, which is really nice, really highly detailed,
They kind
really
of remind
highly
me a little bit
priced.
of those. Yeah, they kind of remind me a little bit of those. I think they were called Diamond Select.
Yeah, I've got
The
those.
style ones that were they're that on the grounds that they're based on the cartoon appearances
Yes,
of the
yeah, yeah,
characters. But I think they're only doing Venkman and Spengler, I believe, for the first wave
yeah,
with like a villain in a
yeah.
two
So you can
pack.
get a kind of
Kind of like what
deluxe.
it's kind of
You
like the
get a
Turtles
normal.
ones that they did the twin packs of the Turtle ones.
Yeah. So the Venkman's the only one that's up for order just now, and you can get the Venkman with a Slimer, and a kind of trap and some accessories, or you can get a deluxe one that comes with, and I can't remember his name, and I literally just talked about this today, the kind of pumpkin headed ghost,
I
but
think
he
Sam
comes as
Hain.
a, that's it, yes,
Uh,
I mean, so you can get a full deluxe pack, but you can only get that from Mondo. So if you're getting it for the UK, you're having to get it shipped over and stuff, and it's just a bit more expensive. I'm going
yeah.
to go with the kind of standard one because I've no real desire. Now, if they do a bug eye, like you know how much I love a bug eye, if they do
Yeah.
a bug eye, I would be all over having to get a more expensive one. But I think they're expensive. It's 100 quid for just Venkman and Slimer. You know, it's not a
Yeah.
cheap figure, but Mondo stuff is
I
highly
think
detailed. It's so pretty.
they do look really nice. I think I think I shared with you the other day about one of the lads on Instagram got the I think it must have been the deluxe one because it was running out I think
Yeah,
$202 including
I'll be about
shipping
right.
was and that was you could see on his like he screenshotted his order and shared it. The quantity was one. He wasn't buying
Yeah,
two sets. That was for one
no,
set. So
yeah,
that's like an extra $100 for an
and
additional figure. Plus, if there's
it's
extra
uh
accessories,
it's not just an exclusive, but it's a timed exclusive, which we were talking
it'll
before
be
the show
highly
about the
sought after
aspect of
for collectors.
if timed exclusives are interesting because there's a good chance you can make your money back if you decide to own it down the line. But it also means if you miss out on it at the beginning, after market prices,
What we
the
what we refer to as late tax.
yeah, and we've all done it. We've
Yeah,
all done it. We've all
I
done
mean,
it.
look at how much you would have paid for your Mattel Retro Wrestlers compared to what I paid to get
Yeah,
them on mint on
yeah.
card. Like night and day. So if I just picked them up and I saw them for buttons when they were being clearanced in places,
Yeah.
I've learned my lesson.
So we've talked about dead recent stuff, but I think we should throw back to kind of the 80s, right? So I was going to say, what did Little Kev watch? I'm going to stick with Little Kev and not try and be cheeky and not be my usual wide
Don't say the
self.
S word. Don't say the S word.
but what was Little Kev watching and
the,
enjoying in the 80s?
the earliest like cartoon memory that I remember like bursting to watch it was the real Ghostbusters. I know that there was loads of other things around about the same time, or things that predate that, like Masters of the Universe. But I was never like mad into that like I was with Ghostbusters. Like that was the first like thing I would consider that I was a craze for me
Yeah.
was real Ghostbusters. And I remember you know like having the videotape that had like the two episodes back to back on it and just watching it over and over and over again. And then like whenever you were in, somewhere like Woolworths or whatever, and you were just begging your parents to buy you another tape, and they're like, "No, you watch the one you've got." And I've seen it a million times, and then like if it was on the TV, it was on like CITV in the afternoon, and it's like I remember taping one off the TV one day just purely so that I had a third episode on video that I could watch. And I specifically remember the episode. It was where the team go to Paris and they find out that uh, Monsieur Eiffel, who created the Eiffel Tower, was actually a Ghostbuster, and that the Eiffel Tower was actually a massive containment unit, was a massive ghost trap containment unit. And I just remember thinking it was pure amazing. And the other thing that stuck in my mind about that particular episode was there's a little kind of montage scene where they're in the firehouse and they get the call from France to say, we need you to come to Paris and help us out with this problem. There's ghosts and monsters everywhere, and then there's like this little montage scene where they're getting ready and they're flying off in the plane and stuff like that, and then the plane lands in Paris, and you see the cartoon versions of the Arc de Triomphe and things like that, all like famous
Yep,
French
yep, yep.
landmarks that they've done drawings on and stuff, and it had like an extended version of the cartoon theme song that played over it, which is what always stuck in my head. This is a pure banger. This song, I always remember thinking that the cartoon version of the theme sounded better than like the famous Ray Parker Jr. version.
Yeah.
And I believe that it's Sony that owns it, that will have the original recordings of it, and it's credited to an artist named John Smith, which good luck finding that, because it's like
That sounds like a
stupidly
pseudonym
common.
as well.
Yeah, like it's a stupidly common name if it's even a real name. So yeah, you're not going to have any luck trying to find that. So it's it's like a guitar solo and stuff in it. It's amazing, which I think you can hear a bit of in the closing credits of the cartoon actually. But if you wanted to actually listen to the full length thing without, when the intro to the cartoon, it had all the sound effects in it, like, Slimer kissing Janine, and then the siren from the car and things like that, like without all of that on it, like an actual studio recording of the cartoon version of the song, that would be amazing. But I don't know if we're ever going to get that. Come on, Sony, give
Maybe
us
for the
it.
40th. Maybe for the 40th. There's like I can only speak for the Transformers. Like Transformers this year said it's 40th. It's loads of stuff, including new versions of the music released on LPs and CDs, as well as they did the first 4 episodes into the cinema. So which was an incredible
Yeah, which
experience. So
I think it's awesome. Like even like you says, I'm not like a massive Transformers guy, but I've seen some of the stuff that you've shared with me, and you've shared in like group chats and things like that about events and things like screenings of the original film, like the animated film and things like that. That like there's been so many awesome things that they've done and things that they've revealed for the 40th anniversary. My fear with the Ghostbusters is that the cartoon series, the real Ghostbusters, yeah, it's going to be 1986, but because it's part of a wider media franchise that's already had its 40th
yeah,
anniversary, it makes me kind of think it's maybe less likely that we're going to get something
yeah,
because
and I agree. I agree. I think you're right. I think that'd be my concern as well because I don't really feel as if they've really amped up a 40th the Ghostbusters that much this year. Like
yeah,
that, it's not been a
we can
big
live in
massive
hope.
deal.
We can
I
live in
know,
hope.
I know, and I think there is a challenge because you know, He-Man, Transformers, Turtles are probably the three biggest of the 80s cartoons, like in terms of longevity. The Transformers has never had a year where there's not been a Transformers toy on the shelf.
Yeah, and then obviously
Turtles,
you had like the big live action like movies that came
yeah,
out and things
yeah,
like that.
like,
You then obviously you got like new live action Ninja Turtles movies, and obviously they've done like legacy sequels for Ghostbusters and things. Whereas something else like Thundercats, which is something else I was a big
yeah,
fan of as a kid, we never ever got a live action movie of
no,
that.
no, no,
We
it's
got
not.
we got an animated movie, which I think was actually just 5 episodes of the show edited
It was,
together into
yeah,
a feature
yeah,
length, and it was
yeah,
the start of season 2 or something. I had the VHS of that.
yeah,
If I remember right, it was called Thundercats Ho, the movie,
yeah,
but it wasn't actually a movie. It was just a re-edit of the
yeah.
TV series. But I
No,
mean, I'd love a live-action Thundercats movie even now. It'd be
I'd lo
wicked.
I'd love more new Thundercat stuff, and I think that's the challenge is that there's loads of brands from the 80s that had great cartoons, great toys, and they're stuck in the 80s. They've never really moved forward. Some of Thundercats has had two newer cartoons, um, varying quality. The
See, I
first
never.
of the reboots was really good. Was a much more integral story. So like most of the 80s cartoons, Thundercats was actually pretty good for not being like this, but most of the 80s cartoons were like, here's the new toy of the week, because that's what they were there to do. Thundercats wasn't quite as much like that. There was an aspect of it, but not quite as bad. It had a more of a kind of intertwining story through the
Yeah, I
seasons.
was just going to say the overarching storyline of Thundercats is like, why wasn't there a live-action movie of that? There's so
Yeah,
much source material, and
yeah,
whereas like, I know what you mean. You're talking about things like Ninja Turtles and things that was explicitly developed to sell toys. Like it was basically a half-hour advert for a toy line,
oh yeah,
was what that was. But Thundercats didn't
never
seem to
felt
have
that.
that same vibe. Obviously, there was a toy line for it, and it was a successful toy line. And I stupidly about this time last year, so when we were on our toy trip, thought I'd love to get some of them mint on card. That'd be brilliant. And then saw the prices of them and went, ooh, maybe not.
I know they're expensive. They're a brand that I would love for to have a retro version of.
Yeah, because they did do like kind of that were exact. The ones I remember was a big black coloured card
Yep,
with
yep,
the logo on it, with the little bubble with the figure with the said, Sword of Omens and
yeah, yeah.
the glove thing and stuff like that you had. and Mumra had the staff and the headdress and stuff like that. But I saw when I was kind of researching it, I saw ones that looked like the old cartoon. You know, we were talking about there's like a couple of newer versions of the cartoon. These were figures that were clearly based on the original 80s show, but it was in like a straight up and down thin window box rather than there was no card to it. Kind of like what the WWE Elites are, like that style of box. It's straight up and down with the window. But they looked like the old school ones, and I'm like, these are only like 20, 30 quid. Maybe I'll buy
Is
a
that
few of
just
these.
recent? Is that just recent ones?
I don't know how old they were, but they were.
The Super 7 are doing new, so they've done their Ultimates, but they're doing
Well, see, I remember seeing the Super 7 ones,
deluxes.
but they were much wider. The Super 7 ones, like
Super
the
7
Turtle ones.
I've launched a new line for it, but for the Thundercats, and they're doing
And it's
other
based
lines.
on the 80s one, yeah.
Yeah, so it's
It might be those then that I've seen.
they're
It wasn't
called
that long ago that I remember seeing them.
Deluxes, I think. They've only done a monkey and a lino, so they're more.
Oh no, it must be different because I remember
different.
definitely I saw Panthro and I definitely saw Tiger.
That'd be interesting to see.
Was
it maybe? Oh, I know what it was. I put money on it. It was so the first Super 7 Ultimates are just reissues of the Mattel Creators creation line. So our Mattel
was that
Collectors Club
back when it was Matty Collector?
Yeah. So they did Mumra, Panthro, Lion-O, Jackalman, and Palmyra. I think that's the 5. So actually my Mumra, Jackalman, and Palmyra are all those original figures. Because I missed out on the Panthro originally, bought them second market at a stupid price, and then they announced the Ultimates, and I was like, oh well, I've just wasted my money. But he's still a very good figure, so he's okay. But I love my Thundercats figures, but they're a toy line that I feel as if I'm kind of pretty much done on, which is a nice feeling. I don't feel as if I need, like, I've got the Matty Collector Club Wily Kit and Wily Cat, and Super 7 have done upgraded versions. Yeah. Oh no, they weren't. They were by Mattel, but they were kind of before the Collector's Club. I've got that one.
Thundercats Classic. See what I mean though? But it's just straight up and down.
The annoying bit with that, they did Lion-O and Tigra in one scale, and then did Mumra in a different scale, I'm sure. So it just was like it did 3 figures. They were available in Tesco. I got it in Tesco Wish Off for nobody that don't know this. Yeah, so I've got both of them. Or I had both of them. I don't know if I've still got them.
I mean, they're on this site that I'm looking at right now. They're like 20, 25 quid. They're not even dear. Okay, fair enough. Lion-O's 35 quid, but still, that's
they're not bad. But it's the problem is it's 2 figures, and then as I said, a Mumra.
See, I could have sworn I saw a Panthro as well, but maybe I'm making that up, or maybe it was a different line or something. Maybe that was the one you were talking about, like the Matty Collector ones.
And I
don't know, but
it's a shame
they didn't look enough like the ones I remember from being a kid. The nostalgia didn't kick in that made me click add to cart. It didn't kick in like that.
Super 7 are doing toy versions of some of them as well. So they've done their kind of cartoon versions and they're doing toy versions. So and the Lion-O and Mumra come with light up eyes. So
with the little ring thing that you had to put in the back. That was amazing.
I'm not buying any of these repaints. I don't want them. Then the 2 of them went up and I went, yep, we're buying them. Stuff for it. Why not?
I forgot about that. It was like a ring that it had it looked like a little red pencil on it, and you put one AA battery went in it, and it had a little metal nib, and you put it in a hole in the back of the figure, and it made the eyes glow. Brilliant. I forgot all about that. That was cool.
Great gimmick. Gimmick.
Whereas, like, I remember having a Terminator figure. It was around about 91. Probably 91, 92 when Terminator 2 came out. I think it was 91 that movie came out. And they did a toy line for it, which I thought was weird given that that's a film that kids
are meant for that.
Yeah, Robocop, like Robocop and stuff.
Alien.
Exactly. And there was a pair of Predator ones, I'm sure as well. But yeah, there was a handful of Terminator figures that I got, and one of them was the endoskeleton, and it had glowing red eyes was one of the marketing things for it, and I thought this is going to be like the Thundercats with that thing you plug into the back, and it wasn't. It was literally just like little curved tubes that were inside the head, so there was 2 holes in the top of the head. And then so if you held it up to the sun or under a light bulb or something, it made it look like the eyes were glowing red, when in actual fact there was no glow. It was just, like you say, light piping. And but it was a much cheaper gimmick.
Yeah. But if it's done right, like, and MD listens to this, like Transformers will know what I'm talking about. There's some Transformers figures that just when it's done right is just stunning. I
Yeah.
don't know if I've got any. I can't think of any non-Transformers figures as I look around my mental collections of stuff.
Well, I know that
That
that early 90s T800 endoskeleton definitely did it because I remember what happened to that. You want to hear a funny story?
I do.
So there was a play set in that toy line, and I specifically remember its name was the Bio Flesh Regenerator, and it was I saw it in like the Argos and Index catalogs and things like that, and I wanted to get it, uh, and I never ever got it. And I remember my mum asking my aunt or uncle to get me it for my birthday one year, and instead they just bought me a pair more of the figures and never bought me the thing that I'd been asking for. That my mum explicitly told them get them this, but it was like you would put the it came with like special versions of the figures, like the endoskeletons, and it was like the factory where it would put the kind of fake skin around them that you could
Okay.
then like damage off. Like I
Yeah.
say, I never actually had it. I assume it was like plasticine or Play-Doh or something of that nature that it would like press together with a mold to make it encase the figure in this whatever this material was that you could then damage and reuse. So I remember getting it was like one of those little plastic trays that you would get like a microwave lasagna in or something like that. And I filled it full of water and put the endoskeleton in it and put it in the freezer. And then took it out and I had the endoskeleton in a block of ice.
Mhm.
And I thought, this is the closest I am going to get. And obviously, it wasn't supposed to be like the flesh stuff from the toy,
Mhm.
but I thought it was cool. And the house I grew up in the back garden, there was like 5 or 6 big stone steps at the bottom of the garden. And I threw it from the top of the steps. And this block of ice hit the pavement at the bottom of the steps. And the figure shattered in a million pieces,
No.
like the T1000 does at the end of the film when it's got the liquid nitrogen frozen. And I was like, oh, or the
Instant regret.
9-year-old equivalent of bastard. Like, as it destroyed my toy, and I was like, oh well. But then, like when I later on like was old enough that I was allowed to see the film, I was like, that's what happened to my endoskeleton toy.
That's so funny. Stayed funny. Like
Hilarious.
I think the comment I always make when I make this show is I love watching my guests talk about the shows, talk about the toys, and just seeing the joy that it brings back. And
For sure.
the reason we all collect toys is because it brings you back to an absolute time of innocence, joy, when there was just kind of unadulterated fun. And I remember like our toy trip last year was epic. We did 5 days and we lost count of how many toy shops we were trying to do. We were trying to do 20, it
Yeah,
never happened, but we were
but I
close.
think
We were
we
close to.
we ended up finding ones that weren't on the list though, like
No,
the like
and
the it was
yeah,
secret ones we didn't know were there.
and ones that
Were amazing.
our very last shop was on a Monday morning. We were kind of just outside Birmingham, and I woke up and I was sitting on Facebook and I saw a post about a shop called Manic Miner, and I said, "Oh,
I was just
that
going to
seems
say
quite
we need
good.
to give Manic
Let's
Miner
go
a
to
shout out
Manic
because
Miner."
that place was
And
awesome.
Manic Miner blew me away, and it just was. It actually ended up being our last shop, only shop of the day, last shop just by me taking poor directions. But it was a great way to finish it because it was like a proper gem of a. I didn't know
And you
this
know,
existed, and then look how good this is.
and what I would also say is that the lad that runs Manic Miner, his name's
Do you know what his name
escaping me
is?
just now.
Kev.
And I've got absolutely no excuse for not remembering that. So Manic Miner, Kev, I apologize for forgetting your name because I have no excuse for that because it's also my name. But yeah, that guy, he knows his shit. He's not just doing it
Yeah.
to turn a quick buck. He is a collector himself, and he knows all the different lines. He knows what's what. He knows what eras things are from, and he knows what things are worth. And like that's the kind of guy you want. That's taking a hobby and something that they're passionate about, much like your good self, Moff, and turned it into their livelihood. And
Yeah.
it's awesome to see people doing things like that. I know that you were talking about potentially having him as a guest at one of your cons or
So
maybe
he
even
was
a
so
vendor.
yeah, so he traded at TFUK Con this year.
Awesome.
And it was great to see him. And then I saw him at the NEC Toy Fair. I was there in September. Yeah, end of September. And I saw him there as well. He was like just walking in front of me. I was like, hey, hello, how you doing? I'm not stalking you, honest. But I think it's like that trip was great because it was just, and we talked about it, we wanted to do it again. We did another one this year, the NEC in April. And again, like that one, we had plans to go to a store and it turned out I had again mucked up. And it then meant we went to a different shop, which was Route, oh no, Oh my goodness, I can't remember the name. I say Route 66, but it's not.
No,
What
no,
it's
I know
called.
it was the one that was in the big barn.
Yeah, something 66.
No, 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 it
Oh
wasn't. It was called Nerd Base.
no, it wasn't Airbase. Airbase was the one
That's
on
the one that was in a big barn. It was in O'Kinney's
Airbase was
village.
Airbase was the one that I got the Boulder Hill. I'm talking about the trip we did with Kev this year. The other Kev. Sorry,
Oh, right,
there's two
okay.
Kevs in my friend group, which is really confusing. Three of us, and two of them are called Kev. One's a backup. I never tell them
Not
which
me.
one's a
I'm not the
backup.
backup. I'm
I
the
never tell them
OG.
which one's back. So we were
I
going
was
to
here
the
first.
NEC
It's
Toy
territoriality.
NEC Toy Fair this April. So we had a wee trip planned on the Saturday, do a couple of shops. The shop that I wanted to go to was shut, and I said, "Let's go to this." I'm sure I will 88 miles an hour collectibles. That's what it is. 88 miles
Oh,
an hour
yes, no, I
collectibles,
remember that one. It
and
was like in
it's like
amongst
in
all the
a
jewelers and stuff like
antique
that.
fair place, and
Yeah,
it was
it was
just
in amongst all the jewelers and things like that. That was amazing, that shop.
so I brought something down off my shelf to show you because I went back to it again this year. At this NEC toy trip, I took Kerry in because I thought I need to show her this, and
Do you
that was
know,
again had the same feeling as you walk in and you're just like, oh my goodness. And the best bit of these toy trips, the best bit of going to these retro shops is the aspect you see things you've not thought about, and for 40 years for a lot of us. And I brought us down. I got a toy that I must have been handed down to me. 100% was handed down to me because it's a 1980 toy. It was handed down to me probably from one of my cousins, and I hadn't seen it or thought about it in 40 years. And it was a Fisher Price Adventure People wee kind of spaceship. I don't know if it's the right guy that's in it, but I don't really care. And I saw it and I just was like, I need to own that because I remember it so fondly for being a child. And it's the right size bit that I put Star Wars figures in the thing. I put G.I. Joe's in it. It get used for everything. And that was, that when you're a child, you just put all your toys played with each other. Like my
yeah.
G.I. Joe's played my Star Wars, my He-Man played with the Thundercats. You kind of merge them all together and just make your own stories up. And it was just an absolute joy to that.
Do you know what? When obviously the audience can't see the toy that you just held up to me,
No.
but when you first held it up to me, because like you're on a tiny little screen and it's very, very small, it looked like if Del Boy had a spacecraft.
Sorry, I remember getting notes up. So
That's
it's
what it
just a
looked
kind of
like.
mad yellow toy, but
That's quality.
honestly, I was just like, I need to own that. I don't.
What is it from?
Adventure People. So they did
Oh, was it?
space
It wasn't like a TV show or nothing.
no, just because
Ah,
this was
see.
before. You got to remember, like this was 1980. The first proper
Ah,
toy
okay.
line that had a cartoon was really Masters Universe.
I
Like
was going to say
after
it's He-Man.
Reagan changed his rules, so this was pre that. So there's this, and when I then went hunting, I found pictures of a helicopter that I had, and I now feel as if I want that just because.
Well, I
Like,
mean, when we
why
were
am I
on
buying that?
that toy trip last year, you started a mask collection just
Which is
for somebody else to collect that you've nearly finished, haven't you? You
and
remember you finding the poster that had like the
yeah,
checklist on it? You're like, right, here's what I'm
got
still
got
needing.
need.
Yeah, yeah.
And as you say, it
It
was
was like
that
when you're trading
you're trading your
the
WWE
stickers.
stickers or WWF stickers like that. But that was a very much a actually I want something to have for toy trips. So I have broke the rule. I have bought two pieces online. I bought a collection off a fella. I bought a Bionic 6 wee mini collection off him to complete that collection, and he offered me some mask stuff, and I was like, oh okay. So there's a couple of bits that upgraded, and then I also bought, which was a figure that a vehicle I didn't think I would get, and I've only seen in person once, and I thought I'm just going
Well,
to buy it the next
well,
good deal. But I'm going to complete that collection. I am only going to now buy in person because there's a fun bit of it, the joy of
something to
hunting a
look for
toy.
at toy fairs. Yeah,
Yeah.
you go to toy fairs and it's just like there's masses of stuff crammed onto those tables, and then usually there's stuff in tubs on the floor below the tables as well.
Yeah.
And it's the joy of, especially when you're looking for loose stuff, raking through it. And then when you find multiples of stuff, it's like what one's got the least paint wear and stuff like that. You want something that you can put on display and be proud to have on display. And it's that's a cool thing to do. And just going back to touch on the 88 miles an hour collectibles that you mentioned earlier, that place was awesome. And you said there about not thinking about toys that you've not thought about in 30, 40 years since you were a kid. I saw in there in one of the glass cases I think there was actually two of them in the unit, and it was the 1990 original Mattel Simpsons figures that they put out, like right when the show just first hit the UK. And I remember as a kid, I had Homer, Bart, and they also did Bartman, which was basically Bart in a different coloured outfit with the mask and cape. So he was like a superhero. and I think he had a different colour skateboard or some accessory that came with him. And I only ever had those three, and I remember not ever seeing the Lisa figure ever. I never saw it in like Woolworths or any stores. I never saw it in person. Never knew like any cousins or like neighbor kids that had it. Never knew that you could get it anywhere apart from the fact that it was
On
obviously
the
a main
box.
character in the show and it's listed on the back of the cards. So you knew it was out. But
Yeah.
then like as a later adult collector, like is this like the Rhythm and Blues tag team that it was on the back of the cards at one point, but it never existed? The trade-off that we had to make as kids was that round about the same time, I think it was Burger King Kids Club had The Simpsons as the toy that came in the kids meal,
Right.
and you got like a little Lisa that was like she was dressed in like the gear from when they go on the trips into the forest and stuff like that. So she wasn't in her normal little red dress and things like that with her saxophone. She was in this weird outfit, and it wasn't. I actually think it was just like a little rubber thing that, like a statue,
Yeah.
that didn't move at all. But that's what everyone had to use for the Lisa because nobody could find this Lisa figure. So that got me thinking. I kind of would like to see if I could get the ones I had as a kid again, and uh, and then I thought, oh bugger it, I'm just going to try and get them
Get
all
them all.
on cards, because I then found out that the Nelson, the bully character Nelson Muntz, if you remember his first appearance in the show where he's bullying Bart, and I think the scene in the show is Lisa sitting on the curb outside the house eating an ice cream or something like that, and Bart rolls in a bin in like a trash can because he's just and then he coughs his hat up, I think. And Nelson's accessory was the trash can, and the first version of it, it was like two semicircular bits of plastic that when you took it out of the card, you would clip them together, and it would make
Yeah.
the bin, and the Bart figure would fit inside it. But then I'm guessing it was a cost cutting thing. You never think about this when you're like, 8, 9 years old or whatever. But later, as an adult collector, you start thinking about the cost cutting aspect of it. That maybe that was too dear a manufacturing thing, or they just cheaped out on it. And there's a variant of it that's just like a square cardboard box that's printed to look like a trash can. So I didn't know that there was variants of it, and I was like, but I'm going to need both of them because it's not. I don't consider it to be
Kind of
a full
fun.
set, but especially when there's not like talking about the WWE ones where there's hundreds and
Yeah.
hundreds and hundreds of figures in those sets. There's like 7 figures in the Simpsons set plus a play set that I didn't know existed until I tried to re-get them as an adult. And I think now I've got all of them except Homer and Bart. I've got all of them mint on card, and I've got 3 Nelsons because when I went to get Maggie, the the guy that was selling the Maggie, I think it was on Instagram or maybe on eBay, whatever it was, he was selling him a bundle. It was Maggie and Nelson for like a set price that he wanted for them. And I'm like, I don't really, I've got both the variants of Nelson. I don't need another Nelson. And I said, like, can we do a deal for just the Maggie? And he's like, no, I'm going to shift the two of them together. So it was actually a price that I would have been happy
Paid for the
paying for
mag
the
yourself.
Maggie on its own. So I'm like, all right, that's fine, just give me it. And I thought, when this comes in, I'll check and see if this one's in better nick than
Yeah.
that version, because I couldn't remember if it was the cardboard one or the plastic one with the bin. If it's in better condition, then I could
Swap
replace
it
the
out.
one in my.
Yep.
But I still haven't. They're all just sitting in my toy room, waiting for the collection to be complete, so I can then decide where to display them. So yeah, I've got 3 Nelsons, but I only need to find Homer and Bart, and Homer is one of the ones that was in the cabinet at 88 miles an hour toys. So I'm wondering if he's still got it because I don't even remember what it's priced at. But
Well,
and
you never know.
I know I could find them if I wanted to. But like you say, it's one of these things that is fun to try and find them in person, but finding them mint on card in person is a lot harder. But I know that there was a Homer mint on card in that
Yeah.
store from when we saw it a year ago, and that was another thing that just like what happened with you and Mask and Bionic Six was just a. I remember those. I've not thought about
Yeah.
them since I was like 9.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find those, and
Bionic Six
I
is my
did.
favorite thing because it was a collection that I loved the cartoon. I loved the toys. Nobody had them, like barely, or not barely anybody had them. And I managed to get all the figures probably about 15 years ago. I completed the figures. I was like, that's it. I'm not going to get the rest because the rest is expensive. And then over time, I counted back, had 5 different auctions for parts for the base to complete the base, and I've not completed the base. I've got two parts missing for the base, but I'm okay with that. It was two bits that you wouldn't even notice. It's fine. Um, but the van was something that needed upgraded, and the fella was selling the van. He had it with a best offer, and I put a best offer in that I thought was ridiculously low because it sells for silly money. And it was a boxed van, well, a van with a box. The van with a box, uh, all bar two of the figures and the bike, and it was like stupidly good. And I have the joy I had of opening that up and then put it on the shelf and just go, I'm complete. Like I've completed that line. Like I don't keep all the accessories on the figures because the plastic gets brittle over time, and I always worry that they're going to snap because I have seen that with other ones. I had broke one of the figures in my move. I dropped it there. A mix between die cast and clear plastic, and not a clever idea, like totally not. So one of the figures
Easily
I dropped,
breakable.
it just shattered, and I was like, oh crap. So I got a replacement of him. So I've got like a now a complete collection, and it is just every time I look at it, it just brings me such joy because it's 13 figures. That's it, 15 figures. Which is mad because it was actually a show that had 65 episodes, like 65
Do you
episodes.
know the thing is, I don't remember the show and I don't remember the toys either. Like I didn't remember anyone
I
having them. Like when you
have,
showed me them, like you know the way if your cousin had a toy or whatever, or
yeah,
some kid next door had it, that you would go, oh, I remember that, but you never knew what it was. You never knew what it was
yeah,
from. You recognized the toy.
yeah.
Uh, and I didn't recognize any of it. I remember actually during our toy trip last year when we paid a visit to Andy and the team at
And he
Kapow,
had three of the
and
bloody
he
things.
and he had them sitting on the button. He refused to give you one, and he was like,
And
"Nope, they're mine. You're not
I
getting them."
have the van I had was in really poor condition, sun damage, missing panels, and I'm confident I can stick that on eBay and sell it for more than what I paid for
More than
this whole
likely,
bit.
because I mean, you
It's
like you
crazy.
said, the, the the
Uh,
the deal that you got on that bundle sounded like it was a
but it was
stonking deal.
the thing I've told this story before in this show. I only know now why I have Bionic 6 and why I had a pile of like visionaries and stuff. My mum and dad would buy the stuff that was in clearance because it was like we can get more toys for the kids. You know, spend your £100 and get 10 toys rather than spend £100 and get two toys. So we would get our pick of our one toy that we wanted for our Christmas, and then the rest they would pick the stuff. And there's a wee bit of me goes, oh, I wish they'd let me pick my stuff more. But I also have an eclectic taste of toys because I experienced so many funky
Yeah,
ass different toy lines. And also I've done that with my boys, so I can't really, I look at it and go, I'm not paying the price for some of the stuff they want. I'll buy them the kind of stuff they want. Like I bought Jamie the complete set of the modern Thundercats figures because they were in clearance and um, home bargains, and I was like, I'm buying them all for them. But I feel as if we've been on for ages. We could actually talk for another hour. And the joy is we
easily,
have got another
easily.
episode to talk, and I have to say that I am going to get Kev back on again at some point because we've barely touched on cartoons. We've talked more about toys, which is absolutely fine. And I think, as Kev said, we're going to do a toy trip. I think when we do that toy trip, we'll do a little video, a little vlog of the trip, and then we'll do my best catch up afterwards. But it has been an absolute joy. I said to you beforehand that this is my favorite thing to do because it's just so easy. Like Simon and I on our main show have a lot of prep to do. Well, Simon has a lot of prep to do, but we have a lot of prep to do in terms of getting ready for the episodes. I don't have to do prep for this, and I knew this one was going to be easy because we all essentially just recorded what we do every time we get together,
I
which is
was going
talk
to
about
say
toys and
this is
cartoons.
literally just us having hanging out and having a chat like we would have done normally anyway. I
Yeah,
think the only thing that was different is there was a lack of Jack Daniels this time.
well, that's true. That's true. But thank you so much for joining us for this episode. We are going to have a second episode where we're going to talk about a very specific show, and it's one that we both have a lot of love for. And actually, as I'm recording this, not on purpose, but I'm wearing a hoodie from the show, and that show
Do,
is
do you think
Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
do you think I have the exact same hoodie and I could wear it. We could both be matching Michelangelos.
So, before we go, Kev, can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, you can follow me and my collecting of toys on Instagram at real Kilo K, all one word.
That's it. Thank you so much. So, thank you so much, and we will see you on our second episode. Bye for now, peoples.
Toodles.
I don't know why I waved because they can't see. I'm
You're
just that used to
still
doing it.
waving at me.